This is the audio for a post on the Movements in America Substack. Check out the website at movementsinamerica.substack.com. Link is in the description. Christianity in America has a discipleship problem, not just a numbers problem. I don't like being a downer. I really don't. I even hesitated to write this post because my last one was already a bit heavy. But I do care about honesty and having a clear-eyed understanding of where we really are, even when the truth is more discouraging than I like. I'm a bit of a data junkie, and I keep a running file of articles and studies about religion and spirituality in America. Over time, I've been struck by a troubling trend. Many self-identified Bible-believing Christians seem less dedicated to their faith and less willing to believe or practice the basics of following Jesus. To put it bluntly, there are a lot more people today who say they're disciples of Jesus without actually living like disciples of Jesus. Here are just a few reasons I say that. The majority of never-been-married Christians are having sex. Jesus is pretty clear that any sexual activity outside of marriage is sin. Yet 64% of evangelicals who have never been married reported having at least one sexual partner in the past year. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew 5:27-28. Let that sink in. Walk into any of the typical Bible-believing churches in your area on a Sunday, and chances are most of the never-married adults in the room have slept with someone in the last year. Note, this data is specifically for never-been-married Christians, not including those who are divorced or widowed. Christians are giving less. As someone who works in ministry, I have felt like it's been harder to find people who are willing to donate now than it used to be. Apparently, the stats back my feelings. Evangelical giving dropped by about 12% from 2021 to 2024. Jesus, on the other hand, calls all believers to be generous with their wealth. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Matthew 6:2-4. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6:19-24. Church dropout rate is accelerating. When I was in college, it felt like most of my peers either grew stronger in their faith or walked away from it entirely. Unfortunately, a study from Barna confirms that the latter is more common. According to Barna, in 2011, 59% of church-going teens dropped out of church between the ages of 18 and 29. By 2019, that number had risen to 64%. That means most young adults raised in the church are now walking away from it, and the trend is getting worse, not better. Whatever changes churches made to their discipleship strategies between 2011 and 2019, they don't seem to have helped. In fact, they may have hurt. Not trying to be a negative Nancy. I don't share these stats to be pessimistic. I share them because they compel me to act. They push me to ask tough questions. Why do so many people claim to follow Jesus, yet live lives that contradict his teachings? Why are so many raised in the church now walking away from it? Why are our programs, sermons, and events not producing lasting fruit? All of this convinces me that Christians in America are not being discipled to actually live the way Jesus taught. Jesus modeled a life of surrender to the Father. intentional relationships with a few, accountability for sin, and obedience to his commands. I want to give my life to doing those things and helping others do the same. Because maybe, just maybe, if we return to his way of making disciples, we'll start to see these statistics begin to change. Thanks for listening. Be sure to pick up my book, Movements in America, on Amazon if you want to learn more about how God is multiplying disciples and churches around the United States. The link is in the description.